Hello and welcome to Tiramani Tutorials. In this video I'll be showing you the basics of how to import your own samples into the EXS24 sampler in Logic Pro X. Let's get started. So of course, to start this process off, I will need a Logic Pro project. So I will create a new one and choose Software Instrument. Now, my default instrument is not the EXS24 sampler we'll be using. By default, I have it open to Contact 5. So I will need to go here and switch it to the EXS24 sampler. You could choose any sort of output that you will be using. It all works the same way. So I will be choosing mono. When I do that, I should get the EXS24 sampler to open right up. If I were to close that out at any point, I could go to the inspector pane at any time and click right in the middle of the EXS24 to open it right back up. Now what I'm going to do is go to Edit, and you'll see a new window pop up. What I do to get a sample in here is open my sample folder, and I chose animal sounds because they make me happy. You could choose whatever audio files you want, and I will take this domestic animals 1 file and drag it right on into here. Now you can see when I do that, it enters zone 1 in this menu, and it has my file name and a whole bunch of other information. We'll just be covering the basics here. So you can also see that this appears, this long line above the keys. When I click any key, I'll start with C3, you can hear the sample being played. If I click anything above C3, you can hear the sample being played higher. And if I play something below C3, that one's funny, you can hear it being played lower. What's happening is it's being pitched up and down because the speed is changing. Now, that might be all well and good if that's what you want, then just leave it alone. If you don't want this, then you'll need to change something. I'll show you a reason why you might not want this first. So if I drag in another audio file, Domestic Animals 2, it'll occupy Zone 2. Now you see the same blue line appears above our original one. Now if I click any of these keys, I hear both samples at the same time. Now, that might be great for what you're trying to do, but if it's not, you will need to change the key range for these. So, I will go to Zone 1, my original sample that I first imported, and you can see here under key range that you have a low, it goes all the way down to C-2, and the high goes all the way up to G8. I'm going to change this so that the range is a little smaller. So now you can see the blue line has shrunk down a little bit. Now, if I click any of the keys within that range, that sample will still play, but if I go all the way out here, I'll only hear the second sample I imported because that key range is still the same and these keys fall under that, but the sample that I changed does not fall under that range. Now there's actually another way of importing the audio files that will make it a little easier if you definitely want one sample to apply to one key only. So I deleted the files from here that we were using before, and now we'll import Domestic Animals 1, but instead of dragging it to this window, I'll drag it down here, and I'll choose F#. Dragged it right onto F#. Now the zone only occupies F# instead of every key. I can import Domestic Animals 2 and drag it to the G key. I can import Domestic Animals 3 to G#, and now those 3 keys belong to those 3 samples. When I'm all done and I'm happy with my instrument, I can save it so I can use it in any Logic project from now until the end of time. I go to Instrument, either Save or Save As, whatever you want to choose there, or I could just exit out and be prompted with the save. So when I go to save it, you could see that it will save. The default name is Sampler Instrument. I already have one, so I'll call this Sampler Instrument 2, and it saves as a .exs file, and you can see right there, Sampler Instrument 2. By default, they'll appear down here, so the first sampler instrument I made is here, The one I just made in this tutorial is right here. And that'll do it for this tutorial. There are plenty of other buttons to press and click in the EXS24 sampler, but you can see that getting started really isn't that hard. So I hope you have fun with the knowledge you have now, and I'll see you next time.